Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions of worlds of TV, film, pop culture, news, lifestyle, music, everything really, depending on the guest we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is the executive director at Beanduck Productions, and he is the director and co-creator of a series called LARPs, which is on Amazon Prime. We're with Julian Stamboulieh. Julian, welcome to Popternative, man.
Hello, all of you out there in Radio Land.
Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me. For all of you out there, it's been a while since Peter and I have talked because we actually went to high school together. Although that's probably when you're talking points, so I should.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. St. George's,
Julian,
man.
Stop ruining the surprises.
It's pretty crazy because we were talking about it before. I mean, you know, St. George's were known for a lot of their high school productions and their shows, and now here we are, you know what I mean? Like, you're doing a lot of really cool things. You know, I got my show. It's like the roots, right? It's the roots, basically.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It was a great art school, but known for other things. But it was a great art school and keeps getting better.
Absolutely. So. When did you kind of decide? Because, like, you know what? Whether you're directing, writing, acting, because you do a lot of that stuff, it's storytelling. It's basically what it is. And it's basically what I do. I interview storytellers like yourself. When did that kind of sink in that was something Julian Stamboulieh was going to do?
Well, so it's actually really funny that you asked that because we actually have a recording of me when I think I was 18 or 19. I was in CJET, and I was like, it was just me and my brother playing video games, and I just went, I think I want to be a director. And he's just like, why? I was like, I don't know. I think that's what I'm going to do. You know, I was already acting at 17, but like,
yeah, I was about to say you were like you were dabbling in the acting for a little bit.
I was dabbling, but I said I wanted to be a director, but I only directed my first project, which was actually the first season of LARPs in 2013. Is when we shot, I think. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
There you go.
And, you know, congrats so far on the success of that. I mean, people can check out LARPs on Amazon Prime, which is, I mean, does it kind of ever like hit you that you get to kind of say that? Like, where can people watch your show? Amazon Prime.
Well,
cool.
This is the problem. I always used to say, yeah, watch it on YouTube. Oh, is it on your channel? No, it's on another channel, Geek and Sundry, da-da-da. Now that we're on Prime, problem is we're still under lockdown, so I haven't been face to face with enough people to be like, yeah, no, we're on Amazon Prime now. You know,
absolutely.
Like that's so.
I do want to talk specifically about LARPs, but I'm just curious because, you know, a guy like yourself has wear many hats. I like having these conversations of kind of, you know, kind of dive into like kind of what you think about it. I mean, we're both Canadian. We're both from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We grew up with a lot of, you know, TV shows on, you know, YTV and Teletoon and, you know, CBC. There always was a stigma attached to Canadian created TV and movies. There always was. That it wasn't as good as the stuff coming in from the States. That was always there. That stigma is kind of thrown out the window right now, especially in the comedy world with, you know, Schitt's Creek,
with like Schitt's Creek,
Letterkenny, Kim's Convenience. Like, isn't that kind of interesting to see a little bit?
I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I think that Canada, so from what I remember from my film studies class in university, Canada was always kind of given the bone of like doing horror films. You know what I mean? Like, I think Hostel was Canadian, and a lot of horror films were done in Canada because it was seen as like the lower tier of film.
Yep.
But then, funnily enough, so was like geek content and in a way comedy. And the funny thing is, it's almost done a flip where horror has this huge, resurrection.
It's massive.
And so does sci-fi, and so does, you know, like, I think a large part of like the fantasy and sci-fi boost was probably because of Game of Thrones and that kind of stuff, and the Avengers films and all that kind of popularizing that.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to be in Canadian and geek culture content.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you know, you're wearing a Ganger hat right now. I mean, you know, you would have been made fun of at St. George's, you know, 10 years ago. Yeah, you were. Yeah, exactly. I was we were, but now it's cool to be a geek, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I remember on my first days of high school, I wore a Pokemon T-shirt because it was really cool in elementary. It wasn't cool anymore in high school. But then now, I remember I went to a dinner with my family in New York, and I wore this hat, and they're just like, "Can you?" I got there, and the first thing that the waitress said was like, "Hey, I really like your hat. My dad hasn't bothered me about it since."
It's great.
So,
There's a Super Mario hat behind you that is like the coolest thing.
the Super Mario hat.
What's the
there's an
one
Avengers
next
hat.
to it? What's the one next to it?
Oh, this
Is that
guy
the
over
Avenger?
here.
Well, is that an Avengers one?
So that's a baby Avengers one.
Yeah,
That
that's a.
I love that one.
Bring that one closer.
Unfortunately, it doesn't fit my head properly, but I bought it anyway.
That's
so
rad. That's a cool.
I love
one.
that one. I've got my Hanzo hat because I'm an Overwatch fan, and then my Actra hat because I got to
Oh,
rep
I
my
just
union.
interviewed Anjali Bhimani, who does the voice of Symmetra in Overwatch.
Oh my god,
Yeah, you didn't.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I just posted that like last week.
Oh my god.
She was freaking out like how big that was because she's also doing voices in the Apex Legends, and she was just like, I was told to do these voices, and then like, it was just crazy. Like video games also, Julian, have just become like it's always been there, but I think with esports and everything, it's kind of gotten bigger and better.
Yeah, and I think that now that story is really evolving in gameplay and in a way also becoming part of the mechanics. I know that one of the first, I mean, I've been a gamer forever and I've been playing RPGs on the Sega Genesis from when I was 5, but I know one of the most modern indie games that blew my mind in terms of how story and mechanics interact. I don't know if you've ever played Braid, but that game was dope.
I have a buddy who was like obsessed with that game. Like that was like his life. And a lot of my buddies like freaked out too, like Duke Nukem. Like I did an interview with the guy who did the voice of Duke Nukem.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I got to go through your backlog.
Oh dude, it blows my mind the like variety of different kind of guests that I've had on. It's crazy. LARPs, it's one of those things. Well, I mean, live action role playing, I mean, is just something like I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but like I hope I will one day because it just looks like the coolest thing of all time. And I'm also a big fan of like one of my favorite movies is like Role Models, and obviously there's that LARP component in that with Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott. What could people expect from LARPs, like your show, and what was kind of the like idea behind it? Like what made you want to make a show about that world?
Right. Well, I'll tell you what to expect from it first. It's a show that is extremely accessible to everyone. And that's kind of the mentality that we had going into it. So like you mentioned Role Models, and Role Models is one of the films that showcase LARPs, probably one of the most popular films that showcase LARPing. And not obviously nothing against Role Models or anyone's appreciation of that film, but so much like a lot of other media, it kind of lampooned it, kind of made fun of it a little bit. It demeaned it a little bit. It was the butt of the joke.
It was,
right?
Yeah, it was. But it was funny.
Fine.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, it's fine. But but then what happens is that the LARPing community is hungry for a show that properly represents them. And so when we went into creating LARPs, it was from a purely filmmaking standpoint. The story is the most important. Making good characters, good story, very accessible was important, but treating it with respect so that basically like our core audience, the ones who are most likely to watch it off the bat with a name like LARPs, can fall in love with it, see themselves in it, and share it. And so essentially what the story is, it's about a group of friends, 5 in the first season and 6 in the second, who live action role play. They game together. But what happens is that there's things from within their story, within their gaming story, that kind of bleeds into real life, and then conflicts in real life that bleed into the game, and really those things should be kept separate. And it's not like we go into their imagination and this and that. They're clearly gaming, just swinging swords around and having a good time, but relationship issues that happen in one affect the other. And so that's kind of where the comedy and the drama of the show lives.
And it's got a really great cast. I mean, talk a little bit about the cast. I mean, it's a really good cast, man.
Well, I know when we shot season 1, for a lot of the people involved in the show, it was their first chance to star in something, 100%. And from there, many, if not all of the actors' careers have exploded. So we had a really talented cast for season 1, the main cast being Scott Humphrey, Elizabeth Neal, Charlotte Rogers, Jonathan Silver, and then the co-creator and writer John Verrill. In the second season, we introduced Amber Goldfarb, who is a very well-known Montreal actor and video game actor. She does a lot of video game acting in Assassin's Creed, in Batgirl. She did the Batgirl acting like Lara Croft. She does a lot of stuff. And we had a great supporting cast for season 2 as well. A lot of them video game actors as well, because video game creation is so big in Montreal. It's one of the biggest hubs of video game creation. So Sean Baichu from Outlast and Wrench from Watch Dogs. We had Mark Camacho, who's a very well-known and respected actor. He played Richard Nixon in X-Men. We had a great cast.
The father of one of the greatest people on the planet in Jesse Camacho. Jesse Camacho is the best guy.
He's like, sure, he's not the greatest, you know. He's like, he's top 20, definitely. You know what I mean? He's 18th, maybe.
I don't know. I feel like he's, I don't know, man. I would say like me and Jesse went to Dawson together, and it's just crazy. I went. Did you go to Dawson?
No, I went to Marianopolis.
You went to Marianopolis. Dawson College had like a lot of like cool alum that are doing some cool things now, man. Like I was in the cinema video communications. You had some crossover with film, but there's like a lot of really cool people that are doing a lot of cool stuff. So,
well, my producer Benjamin Warner, and he owns Beanduck, the company with me, and he's also my bestie. He went through the cinema communications program, and a lot of the actors in our show and a lot of the very successful actors in the city went through the Dome, the theater program there, which unfortunately is a lot of kind of nasty stuff of that school is coming to light. But I'm happy to hear they're finally taking steps to fix that stuff.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. No, for sure. Yeah, no, it's funny you said Jonathan Silver. He also went to St. George's too, right?
Yeah.
He was in the grade of you and my sister, right?
Yeah, he came in grade 9, and
Ben was too, right?
Ben was there too, and
they're all ringing bells now.
We're all it's the three of us and Jamie Mayers, who plays one of the younger brothers of the characters. He plays Sam. He also went to St. George's. He was at St. George's while we were filming this show. Like he was still in the school. But yeah, John Silver came in grade 9 from another school. I went up to him on the first day. Like, you must be the new kid. And I shook his hand.
Did you? And I apologize because I know you said you acted for quite a while, but were you at a lot of the St. George's like productions?
So okay,
I remember Ben and John were, but I don't know if you were.
Let me tell you about how my acting career began. Okay, I have no shame in saying this now because I've matured a lot. But almost every decision in my life has to do with like impressing girls. So when I was in grade 9, I watched the school musical, which was Guys and Dolls, and I was like, I want to be up on stage dancing with the girls. So in grade 10, I started doing the theater program, did Fiddler on the Roof in grade 11, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But it was actually after that I joined my first kind of like professional theater training outside of school. I never actually went through schooling, like traditional schooling for theater. I went to workshops, and I joined Jonathan Silver, and Ben came with me to a school called Dynamic Theater Factory, and I went to another one to a theater. And it's funnily enough, that's when I became friends with Ben. Ben and I weren't friends in high school. Really, we were friendly, but we weren't friends. And it was actually only after high school, over theater and World of Warcraft, that we solidified our friendship.
Absolutely. And there's a few like Jeremy Siegel. He was in my grade. He acts and does theater.
He went through Dawson. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. I think the craziest.
That's Candace Grinnell out there. She breeds good actors. She breeds good actors.
Do you find it's pretty crazy because we talked about it before this, but you know, Montreal has, if you look at a lot of the like people that are involved with amazing productions right now, a lot of them have come from Montreal. You also mentioned like video games and something. It's pretty. I always said this because I live in Ottawa right now, but like Montreal was like the art like the art capital of like it's one of the art capitals of Canada. Like you can't even though sometimes it doesn't feel like you don't feel like it is. Because, you know, the first thing people think of when they think of Montreal is, you know, people speaking French and all of that. But it's like, there's a lot of arts. There's a lot of that stuff brewing there. There's a lot of ideas flowing.
Especially like if we're talking about specifically the acting community, I think one of the reasons that people don't associate Montreal with the acting community is because unfortunately, a lot of the people who start off here and end up being huge stars are because they've actually left the province.
They left, absolutely.
Because there's
No,
not
that
because there's
happens
not enough. Yeah, there's not enough English work here, which is hopefully something that Benjamin and I, through Beanduck, through LARPs, my work with ACTRA, our goal is to start creating more and more like long-lasting opportunities for performers here. That's really something that's really core to our mandate. We don't want to change. We don't want to move, and we don't really want to be bringing as much as we can outside performers into Montreal. We want to foster Montreal talent here and give them some longevity, you know? And so hopefully we grow to a point where we can offer that on a much larger scale.
Does the access of content creation and the ability amaze you? Like the fact that like you can go ahead and get a good enough camera and go film something and put it on YouTube. Like, does that amaze you, Julian? Like where we become with the accessibility of creating content?
Yeah, it's pretty accessible. But it also makes, it's pretty good. But the nice thing is I also teach indie filmmaking to actors, among other classes, but it's so much easier now to just encourage people to go out and create their own work and show them how accessible it is. I mean, even not that I'll never shoot a film on an iPhone probably, but I know many have.
I have to tell you, big shout out here.
Good.
Sorry, shout out to Jess Camacho, Tristan D. Lala, Alex Harush, and Erica Deutschman, because I remember they did a movie called Happy Slapping, and that was the first. I'm pretty sure it's like one of the first movies to ever be filmed on an iPhone.
I believe so. Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, like as long as the message of your project and the medium of your project properly aligned, then you can make it on anything, right? Yep. But like, you know, as long as that's a perfect example, because it was about, if I remember correctly, it was about people getting assaulted or whatever. But the idea that everyone has a camera in their pocket, that was part of the theme of the film. Yep. Because if I remember correctly, everyone is filming on their cameras, and so you had 6 different cameras for no additional cost because everyone has. That was a big deal, man.
They were filming that while they were like at Dawson and like finishing up Dawson. Like that was like a big deal. Like we would see them like after like school and stuff. They're like, yeah, we're gonna go film a movie. And it was like, what? It's like, yeah, we're doing a movie on an iPhone. Like it was crazy. It's funny. You talked about like all like the voiceover people for video games that came from Montreal and stuff. It's making me think that like we've interviewed a lot of people that have done voiceovers in video games. Like we did it. I think one thing which is crazy is, you know, the Red Dead Redemption games just became super big. And like we interviewed like the Arthur Morgan and Roger Clark. And like, it was just like him telling me how he just saw this kind of wave that just like, it kept getting like bigger. He was like, video games were big. And it's like, you wouldn't think it can be any bigger. And it's like, no, 1 year goes by, it got bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're getting huge. I know that one thing that is always around the corner that I think some video game actors, especially motion capture actors, are a little bit worried about is like AI and the replacement of performances by AI. That's always a kind of a scary thing that I think is in the back of the mind of a lot of performers. But yeah, it's getting bigger. There's a lot, and it's not just the big games. I mean, of course, there's lots of big games that are being made here, like Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, that whole franchise.
Ubisoft,
but
right?
Also,
is Ubisoft still kicking in Montreal? Yeah.
Oh, they're killing it. But there's also tons of indie games that are recognizing the power of a good performance and how much a star actor and a star performance can bring to the lore of a game and the popularity of a game. And so they're starting to invest money into the performances as well, which is really good news for us as actors.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's incredible to see. Julian, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. I hope everyone checks out Amazon Prime, search up LARPs. We're actually gearing up for a Kickstarter in early 2021. So if you watch the show, if you love it, go onto our website at larpstheseries.com, and we have a link to a pledge list for people who are just letting us know that they would be they'd be open to helping out in the Kickstarter.
And I feel like it's pretty interesting too, because I don't want to get into it big time, you know what I mean, because it is a double-edged sword, but the whole crowdfunding Kickstarter thing, because I remember like there was a lot of like the Kickstarter crowdfunding idea is a great
Mm-hmm.
idea to use it kind of as an like you said, to help out the pledge, but also as like a pre-sale. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
have ideas, you have guys who want to make something, right? You're gonna buy it when it's out. You're putting in money as like a pre-sale. Like bands
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
that. It was just annoying when a lot of other people were doing it like out of laziness. You know what I mean? Like there were
Yeah,
like,
no,
there-
100%. I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that it's a great audience engagement tool.
Yes.
And it gives us an opportunity to create limited edition products that we can have as tiers, you know what I mean, as offers. So we're probably going to have a Blu-ray that's going to be limited edition, and
it's like a it's a pre-sale, it's a pre-order, basically. It's just the thing's not made yet.
Yes, but it is funny when you see like major productions or major toy companies holding a Kickstarter. It's like, guys, you don't.
I remember the one, I think
need
Zach Braff from Scrubs did a Kickstarter and like people lost their minds. Like I remember like it was a big deal like that. Like, it's like, what? The guy from Scrubs doing a Kickstarter? This was like years ago, but like I remember that. Yeah, but like I don't know, man. There's a lot behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. Where can people follow you and Beanduck Productions on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Sure. Well, you can follow Beanduck Productions on our Instagram and our Facebook page, which I believe are both _ Beanduck. Bean as in the food and duck as in the food. And then you can follow LARPs, like I said, on Facebook. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our updates. You can follow me personally at J Stamboulieh. That's on Instagram.
You got some photography stuff there too, eh? You got
I have a photography page as well, which is J Stamboulieh Photography, and I actually just started a YouTube channel that's on hiatus right now because we're getting ready to shoot something. But you can find me, just search The Coolian on YouTube, and that's my instructional help on filmmaking from a director's point of view.
Thanks so much for coming on the show, Julian, and congrats so far on the success of LARPs, and I hope more people check it out. That's awesome, man.
Thank you very much for having me here among such a great pedigree of guests.
I appreciate that, man. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popturn for previous episodes. Be sure to check out LARPs on Amazon Prime. It is a Beanduck Productions production, directed by Julian Stamboulieh, and like I said, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. If you want to just listen along, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Until next time, this is Julian Stamboulieh and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.